Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Cromwell Board of Education meeting for tonight. We will begin. Alessandra, would you please take, Lisa, would you please take roll call?
Mrs. Campbell? Here. Mrs. Claudia? Here. Ms. Franklin? Here. Mrs. Kelleher?
Here.
Mrs. Anderson? Here. Mrs. Post? Here. Mrs. Russ? Here. Mr. Schuman? Here. Mr. Zabrowski? Here. Dr. Matthews? Here.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the approval of our agenda and any additions, deletions, and a review. I don't believe we have any additions or deletions. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Macri? No. Okay, so a review of our agenda. This is another budget meeting, and there will be a possible action to approve our budget or amend our budget as proposed for 2023-2024. We will also have an update from our chairwoman from the Cromwell Middle School Building Committee, Rosanna Glynn, and I believe a presentation from Curriculum Director Carrie McLean regarding Next Generation Accountability Standards. So those are some items on our agenda this evening. Correspondence. Do you have any correspondence to share?
I do. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to have a full house. I have a letter from us, actually, from the Board of Education on behalf of the students of Cromwell Public Schools, and this was written to the Robbins family that I had spoken to you of. I would like to extend our thanks for the generous donation of $1,500 towards the Cromwell School Lunch Unpaid Meals Debt. We are very grateful for your generous donation. We provided our tax ID. Again, many thanks for our generosity. We did try to get in touch with them. They don't want to give us any more information. They just want it to be, at this point, anonymous to who the actual person was. So we're very thankful. It covered $1,500 of the debt. We're still about $7,000 in debt. But today, we got approved for free lunch for the rest of the year. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to start. We just met today with the Speaker of the House today for everybody. Yeah, so that's a great thing, a great change. However, any money that we are in debt, that we've incurred, any expenses between when we started and now, which is close to $6,800, we are on the hook for. But it's good news, and I'm not exactly sure how long it'll last, but it's a good thing. Also, we received a letter from Stephen Camilleri, Michael Camilleri's brother. On January 13, 2023, we remembered our friend and brother Michael Camilleri on the 1-year anniversary of his passing. In order to continue his mission of helping others become their best, local musicians Yellow 9 sponsored a fundraiser at Rail 99 in Cromwell to raise funds for the memorial scholarship established in Michael's name. Friends and family, fellow parishioners, and work colleagues gathered in support and raised $4,302, which you will find enclosed. So we hope that these funds will help to enrich the lives of Cromwell High students through the assistance it will provide for their continuing education and loving memory. And that's from Stephen Camilleri. And I believe those were the only two.
Okay, and I, in addition to that, did receive a letter from Lee Newman, the union president for the Education Association of Cromwell, and she was advising that the board not decrease staff. So she had written a letter about that, which I shared with the board, and will be attached to the minutes. And I also received a letter from ECS teacher Julie Carroll. Sends a letter on behalf of all the certified staff at ECS, and I believe she'll be reading that at public comments this evening. And that's all the correspondence that I received. And at this time, if there's anyone here for public comments, please raise your hand, and I will go ahead and read the public comments. Okay, I saw Linda Demetriadis first, and I will just go through the list here I need to read first, if you don't mind. Individuals are welcome to address the Board of Education for up to 3 minutes each during the public comment portion of the meeting, but board members will not generally engage in dialogue. The Board of Education chair may, at his or her discretion, extend the time for public comments. Speakers must come to the podium and share your name and address. To facilitate efficient sharing of your comments, we encourage you to share any comments you may have about instruction, discipline, or learning materials first with your student's teacher, then principal, and followed by the superintendent before bringing the comments to the Board of Education. However, if you do not believe your comments have been addressed appropriately, or if you believe they should be shared with the Board of Education for any other reason, please feel free to do so. Any complaints or concerns about individual Cromwell Board of Education employees should be directed to the superintendent and the Board of Ed in writing, rather than in public comments at a board meeting. All comments must not include personal attacks, and comments cannot be discourteous, threatening, vulgar, or otherwise inappropriate. The board chairperson may, at his or her discretion, curtail any public comments or terminate any such individual's privilege of address at any time if they violate any of these rules, violate reasonable standards of decorum, are boisterous, or repetitious. The Board of Education reserves the right to limit public comments to particular topics. And the Board of Education values the well-being of our students and families, and those electing to make public comments at a Cromwell Board of Education meeting are strongly discouraged from sharing identifiable information of their children in such comments, including but not limited to the name, age, and learning ability, and are reminded that any comments made during a meeting may become a permanent matter of public record that may be accessible by individuals in the future. As such, any person making such public comments during a meeting is solely responsible for the information they choose to share. We kindly ask that you consider the privacy of your family and your children while making these comments. And with all that said, if you'd like to come to the podium and state your name and address, and we will have, Catherine, would you mind taking the time? Sure. And if you could just turn your speaker on, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm speaking on behalf of the union, but I am a resident. My resident address is 7 Bonnie Briar. My name is Linda Demetriadis. I'm the president of the local Ask Me 1303-280. I represent the paraprofessionals, teacher tutors, and nurses. My bargaining unit has approximately 70 members. When the budget was presented to the Board of Education, it reflected an elimination of 3 paraprofessional jobs. The paraprofessionals are the backbone of the district. We provide direct service to the students who have an IEP. We support their behavior, academics, and emotional well-being. We work directly with the special ed teachers as well as the regular ed teachers to make sure that the students' goals and objectives are being met. We toilet, feed, and provide a safe environment for these students. This isn't the time to take away paraprofessionals or eliminate classroom teachers and increase class size. Increasing classroom size by an additional 3 students will directly impact our most vulnerable population. The students need teachers and paraprofessionals. They definitely do not need hiring at 6 figures. The district has made several decisions to create and hire high-paying positions without long-term funding being secured. We knew that the COVID money was going to end and we wouldn't be able to rely on it. We have created approximately $1.2 million in positions that we never had. Some of these positions are directly supporting our students, for example, social workers, RBTs, BCBAs, and LPNs. Money needs to be allocated to positions that directly teach and educate our children, not administrative positions. I'm asking the Board of Ed to do their due diligence and start asking the questions. You have a fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers of this town who elected you to be their voice. Let's finally put the students first. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments this evening?
Hi, my name is Heidi Venetianer from 34 Hemlock Court, and I'm here to speak to you about the importance of paraprofessionals. The current budget reflects the loss of 3 paraprofessional jobs, and there is uncertainty about whether or not more positions will be eliminated in the next round of cuts. As an educator, and more importantly, as the mother of a child with special needs, I can assure you that the job of a paraprofessional is not a frivolous position that can just be tossed to the side. Many paraprofessionals are there to provide the safety for the children and the adults in the buildings. There are students who have histories of elopement, children who don't know how to be safe in an emergency situation, such as a fire drill or a lockdown. I could name at least 7 children in the district, but I won't, in various schools in a variety of grade levels who would not know what to do with themselves if there were an active fire or an active shooter situation. There are children who don't have the necessary executive functioning skills to prepare their materials for lessons at hand, children who have language delays and or difficulty with receptive language skills, who for no fault of their own cannot understand directions given or the content of a lesson. A general education classroom teacher would have to spend half of his or her teaching time helping one or two specific children. Then there are the children who have behavioral issues. There are classrooms that have had a history of becoming unsafe situations before a paraprofessional was placed in the classroom to assist with children who had become so disruptive that learning was no longer taking place in the classroom. Should these students be outplaced, that would probably cost the district a lot more money than the cost of paraprofessionals. If something happens to a student because they were in a situation that put their safety at risk, the lawsuit would also cost more than the cost of a paraprofessional. Paraprofessionals are some of the hardest working people who get the least amount of appreciation for a very small salary. They are not frivolous throwaway positions to callously be placed on the chopping block due to budget cuts. There are plenty of other frivolous positions that cost the district a lot more money. Please keep the paraprofessionals in our schools and in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Venetianer. Are there any other public comments?
Hello, good evening. I am not a Cromwell resident, but I am a teacher. Is that okay? Can I just say of
state your name
Middletown?
for everyone.
Brianna O'Leary from Middletown. Dear Cromwell Board of Education, Kassarian and Guerra, how are the children? Dr. Macri, you spoke those words to us at the beginning of this year at convocation and challenged us to hold you accountable if the answer is no longer Sapati and Guerra. Well, that time has come. The children are not well, and the staff are not well either. I was severely disappointed when I read the proposed budget cuts for next year included eliminating teaching and paraprofessional positions. I have been an elementary classroom teacher in Cromwell since 2014. During this time, I have seen a severe increase in student behaviors, teacher burnout, and turnover, especially since COVID. Although we have implemented curriculum such as Ruler to help with social emotional needs, it is not enough. As a whole, we are just barely staying afloat as it is, and eliminating these positions is not going to make it any better. We need more, not less. Instead of taking our PD time to regurgitate curriculum writing, which has already been created and purchased, that time should be used to provide us with additional training to better meet social emotional needs or collaborating across special education and intervention teams in order to increase academic achievement. My students are late to recess almost every day. Why? It's not due to my poor time management of my classroom. It's because prior to recess, our math time is cut short daily due to me having to sift through issues that occurred at lunch. I want to be able to take the time to problem solve and get to the bottom of many of these issues, but feel the pressure to get my entire math block into an hour. I have to choose between meeting my students' social emotional needs or their instructional time to raise their test scores. If I try to get both in, then that runs into recess time, and then the snowball effect continues for the rest of the day. And that's only with 20 students. Adding 2 or 3 more students might not seem like it will make a big difference in a classroom, but it absolutely does. That means we're stretched even more thin in meeting their needs and balancing all of our responsibilities. And lastly, I speak for myself as well as many other certified staff members when I say that paraprofessionals are essential in our schools. Not only do they go above and beyond their basic duties for their assigned students, but they go out of their way to make sure every child in the school feels appreciated and special. There's Maggie Chozik, who brought Valentines in for students to fill out when she knew that they wouldn't be coming in with any to pass out for their classmates. There's Mil McGinnis, who scours used bookstores to find books that might interest reluctant readers and purchases board games and bookshelves with his own money. And there's Selena Walker, who helps to incentivize behavior by hosting tea parties once a week with her students. I could go on with these examples of exceptional paraprofessionals. But yet we are already extremely short-staffed as it is with paras. Our building administrators are trying their best to accommodate, but we can only do so much with the resources we are given. Again, we need more, not less. I so badly want our response to be Sapati and Guerra, but fear it is if these budget cuts take place that we may never be able to catch up and give these students the education they deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. O'Leary.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Small, 1 Robin Lane. Thank you for allowing me, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here to talk about the proposed cutting of the interventionist and teachers. At the last Board of Education meeting, Mrs. Lamberson asked a question about how large the class size will be if a classroom is eliminated. The response was 22 students. Although this may not seem like a large increase, I call it the rock in the pond ripple effect, and let me explain. Hypothetically speaking, a teacher will hold Tier 1 small group reading instruction for 1 hour per day. Within this hour, she will work with 4 groups of 5 students each for 15 minutes. A higher number of students in a small group is just not effective. This scenario only accounts for 20 of the 22 students in her class. With that, the classroom teacher now needs to be creative in her grouping, which will lead to rotating groups. More specifically, instead of seeing each group every day, she will see only certain groups on certain days. When reflecting on which groups to take and for which days, the students that are performing above grade level tend to be seen less than the students that are performing on or below grade level, and that seems to be a problem. Now let's throw in a teacher-led intervention for her Tier 2 instruction during this time. This should be held at least 3 times weekly. So in order for the classroom teacher to conduct Tier 2 intervention, she now has to pick and choose which groups to see and which have to go out without their Tier 1 instruction for a longer period of time. Thus, the ripples in the pond spread further. This classroom teacher now will need to conduct at least 1 Tier 2 intervention group, which will take away from the Tier 1 instruction. So I ask you, how is this placing students first? Isn't that Cromwell Public Schools' motto? In my eyes, this is not putting all students first. The decision to cut a teaching position will affect many, many students. Don't all students, regardless of academic ability, deserve to be instructed equally? If you move forward in cutting a teacher and an interventionist, you will be taking away from the academic equality that all students deserve. So I ask you, when discussing plans for next year, I want you to think, critically think about how your decisions will affect all of our students in Cromwell Public Schools. Which students will not be getting their consistent Tier 1 instruction? Because of the larger class sizes, the teacher has to be creative when meeting the needs of all of her students. Remember, you are here to make sure that all of our students come first. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Julie Carroll, and I'm a teacher at ECS. I live in Rockfall, Connecticut. Dear members of the Board of Education, we would like to share our concerns about the proposed budget cuts to the 2023-2024 school budget. We've been listening to the Board of Education We have been listening to the Board of Education meetings and reading the minutes. We are disheartened to hear about the proposed budget cuts, proposals to teaching staff. We believe that it is important for you to hear from the professionals who spend each day working with and educating your youngest children. Cutting teaching positions and dispersing 2 to 3 more children into classrooms would have an extreme impact on all children in our district. Keeping teaching positions should be a priority, especially at the kindergarten through 3rd grade level, where children are learning the foundational skills that influence the trajectory for the rest of their education. We have created a table on page 3 to illustrate the current class sizes in kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade at ECS. Even though research is mixed whether smaller class size impacts student achievement, the ability to develop close teacher-student relationships is higher when class sizes are lower. According to John Hattie, author of Visible Learning, the impact of strong teacher-student relationships is one of the highest impacts on student learning. Other high-impact strategies that improve student achievement are teacher feedback, classroom discussions, and small group instruction. All of these strategies are more feasible and impactful in classrooms with lower numbers of children. We are the professionals who provide these experiences and work directly with the children. Teachers have the greatest impact on their learning and social emotional well-being. Looking through the lens of a post-pandemic world, one thing we've all learned is that teachers and children need to be in school. The needs of our students are higher and more diverse than ever. Academic readiness, language delays, social and emotional coping skills, as well as hardships on families are just a few of the many challenges facing our students. Prerequisite skills for learning are lacking in our youngest learners, such as paying attention, following directions, being able to communicate respectfully, and regulating their emotions. All of these factors require teachers to devote more attention and time to each individual child in order to create learning environments where all children can access instruction and grow as learners. Adding students would decrease opportunities for all children. Another important factor to mention is the physical space at ECS. Our classrooms barely accommodate the numbers of students we currently have. Adding children would limit flexibility for movement and opportunities for flexible groupings. One of our most important responsibilities is to keep our students safe. This becomes more challenging when class sizes increase.
Mrs. Carroll, just to let you know, we're at 3 minutes, so if you could summarize the remainder.
So we want to let you know that what's happening in our classrooms at ECS and that we need our teachers and our paraprofessionals for our students to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that would like to make a public comment?
Good evening. My name's Stephen Heisman, 28 Wildwood Road in Cromwell. I'd just like to speak in support of the paraprofessionals, some of who are here tonight that work with my son on a daily basis, and without them, he would likely be outplaced, and that would only add more cost to the budget. And I'd like to say that I agree with everything that Ms. Dimitriadis had to say, and I don't support eliminating these positions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Georgianne Stokes, and I'm a special education teacher at ECS, and I'm also a resident at 36 Lincoln Road. So I just wanted to continue and finish what Ms. Carroll had started, because I feel it's very important that we get the word out on students being first and protecting our most vulnerable students. All right, so another important factor to mention is the physical space at ECS. Our classrooms barely accommodate the number of students we currently have. Adding children would limit flexibility for movement and opportunities for flexible groupings. One of our most important responsibilities is to keep our students safe. This becomes more challenging when class size increases. Our custodians are also an essential part of our ECS team. Students eat in the classroom, which often requires unexpected cleanups. Children also spend much of their time during the day on the floor, working in learning stations and working with partners. We rely on our custodians throughout the day to ensure that our learning environments are clean and safe. We want to thank you for taking the time to hear our concerns. We hope that you have a better understanding of what is occurring in our classrooms at ECS. Together with our paraeducators and interventionists, we strive to implement best educational practices to ensure that all children achieve their academic and emotional goals. These are the reasons why it is important that you maintain our highly trained and dedicated teachers, paraeducators, and interventionists. Students in Cromwell deserve the very best we have to offer, and we want to continue to keep students first. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments this evening? Okay. Oh, is there one? Okay. Hearing none, I just want to thank you all for being here and for taking the time to write to us and come for public comment. The board will take your collective thoughts and under advisement, and we'll be continuing to discuss the budget later on the agenda this evening. So thank you very much.
If you have time for one more public comment, I apologize.
Sure, Mr. Dimitriadis, come on up.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Or evening. Time flies. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is James Dimitriadis. I live at 272 Skyview Drive. I am a member of the Cromwell Town Council. And then in my day life, outside of that, the job I actually get paid for is I'm an advocate for teachers and paraprofessionals in unionized environments, as well as healthcare workers and state employees. So every single day, I work and fight for the rights of our educators and our workers that are doing in the work and helping our students succeed. In review of the budget that was proposed, I have several concerns. I think any budget passed by this board that cuts direct pupil services does a major disservice to our students. Simply making a class size bigger and eliminating paras or teachers will be a disservice to those students because the students lose one-on-one time with their teachers. Students with special needs lose individualized attention that they may need under their IEPs, and it makes the entire education process and education experience less whole. In the past few years, the district has hired a number of six-figure salary positions. As you know, last year I FOI'd the hiring practices of the district, and I asked that that be distributed to the Board of Education members. Some of those positions include an instructional technology coach making $104,000, a literacy curriculum supervisor making $124,000, a numeracy curriculum supervisor making $124,000, administrative coaching positions, RBTs, homeschool liaisons. These roles, while I understand the administrative importance, are not direct pupil services positions. If we're going to be cutting roles, we should make sure that we preserve our direct pupil services positions and we eliminate these newer positions or try to find new grants to fund them. I believe it's completely inappropriate to cut direct pupil services, to cut any of our educators, and to cut any of our paraprofessionals. If anyone has any questions, as always, you can always reach out to me. I appreciate your time and your consideration. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, we do need to go back and approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for this evening? Dipty, second. I heard Alan. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion's approved. Okay, we will move on now to reports of liaisons from the Town Council, Board of Finance, Cromwell Middle School Building Committee, and Fields Committee. I don't believe we have anyone here from Town Council. Well, Mr. Dimitriadis, if you'd like to share some words on behalf of the Town Council, feel free.
So the Town Council has called a special meeting tomorrow to meet with the Building Committee at 5:30 p.m. We will be reviewing the information that the Building Committee reviewed last Wednesday. Additionally to that, we have it on both of our agendas, so if we run over from our 5:30 agenda, it's also on our 7 o'clock agenda for us to review the situation with the inflationary and other cost overages of the building and to make any recommendations that the Building Committee go back to work on. So that meeting is open to the public, and I should add, it's been a long practice of the Board of Education to have meetings available electronically. The Town Council's meetings now are available electronically, so folks who can't watch them live will be able to watch them in playback on the town website. And there's a banner on the top of the town website that you can click to be able to access it. So if folks are unable to attend tomorrow but want to hear the substance of our discussion, you no longer have to go and find a cassette in the town clerk's office. You can go and listen to it in playback. So we're looking forward to those discussions. I posted on my Facebook page some of the links to the FAQ that the Building Committee did, and I think there are some folks from the Building Committee here today so they can speak to it more, but they're doing great work, and we look forward to hearing from them and working forward to a solution.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have anyone from Board of Finance here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, and we do have Rosanna Glynn from the Middle School Building Committee. And Rosanna, I wasn't sure if you want to go through everything now or later in the agenda where we need to, where there's an action item. Do you want to give a brief update now and then go through the presentation at that time? Go through it now? Okay, sure.
All right. So, spoiler alert, much of what I'm going to go through today, you're going to see tomorrow night if you come to the town council meeting. But I'm not going to go into as much detail as when I go tomorrow night, so I am going to go pretty quick through these slides. But I just wanted to provide the Board of Ed, the general gist of what's going on, and also something that you will have to discuss later in the agenda, the vote for the auditorium.
Right.
So, all right, I have a clicker, don't I? Okay, so real quick, just gonna go over the overview to date, what we've done. It's been a while since I've actually presented to all of you, so if I ever have questions, please stop me. Cost mitigation opportunities and next steps. So in the design process, for those of you who are unfamiliar, we're still all learning this as well. It's the design process is broken down into multiple phases. There's a concept, a schematic design, design development, and construction document. At the end of each of those phases, we go to a third-party cost estimator to give us an idea of how much the project will cost at the end of the project, at the end of the build. So we had a concept design last year. It's the one we went to referendum with. They came back and said, based on the cost of labor and the cost of materials back in last March, April timeframe, plus an escalation rate that was double what we normally would do for a building, for a school building, it came out to $58.6 million total project costs. Fast forward, we went to schematic design, which was completed at the end of last year. Again, they went back to a third-party estimator, and the cost that came back was $77.6 million before we had any cost reductions. And that was reflective of almost an average of a 22% inflation on building materials and trade costs. So electricians, electricity, cement, gypsum, all that stuff gets played into that. So there'll be 2 more estimates. There's going to be another one after design development, and then one right before construction document. And as we get further and further into design and we start fine-tuning the design, like actually getting into each classroom, figuring out flooring and walls and lighting and all that stuff, we have more opportunity to bring that cost on and find more opportunities for cost savings. So schematic design, for those of you unfamiliar with what is schematic design? So a concept design is basically just a picture. It basically says the building's going to kind of look like this. It's going to have this many rooms. It's going to have an auditorium, gymnasium, very high level. Schematic design now says, okay, this is how all the rooms are going to be laid out. This is what the square footage of the building is going to be. This is all the work we have to do around the building with the fields and all of that. So it gives you more detail than concept design, but you can't actually go build to it. There's not enough detail to actually go build against a schematic design. Your design development, then it gets more into detail design. Now we're looking at where's the door's going to be, how thick are the walls going to be, well, where's the stairs actually going to go, all the really fine detail part of it. And then the construction document is what you're actually going to go build to. It's the instructions to your construction manager is going to go in, your final blueprints type of thing. So as we move along in the design process, we're going to get more estimates. That's pretty much what's going to happen. So again, I just kind of summarized what I just summarized is on this slide, the process up to now. Just a reminder, a grant was submitted in June. We were put on the list in December, which is really good, and it goes to the state. Once the state approves their budget in June, we will know officially then if we get the grant. So just reminder again, since we haven't been here for a while, why did we build new? It was the lowest total project cost. So when we compared a new build to a renovation, it was actually cheaper to go build a new building than it would be to go renovate the old building. The highest proportion of construction costs stays with the building. So there were millions of dollars we would have to put into a renovation just to renovate it. Like putting up temporary walls and all the abatement and hazmat, all that stuff that you have to do because kids are still occupying the school. All that cost leaves the building when the project ends. With a new building, every penny you put into it stays with the building. So there's no wasted cost. Lowest net cost over 10 years, lowest impact to student population, 2-year build versus a 4 or 5-year build with a renovation project, and maximizes safety, which was really, really important to us as a building committee. So this is just a really top-level comparison of the estimates, total construction, a larger auditorium, soft costs. That's how we got to the $77.6 million. We're going to go into more detail on that tomorrow. This is kind of the money slide. which really shows how did we get from that 58.6 up to that 77.6. So you're going to see the bottom left-hand corner, $9 million is just trade costs. That's just labor from all of the construction services. Labor costs have gone up a lot. Think of, just the inflation. If you figure like a 9%, right? Just there on salaries and things like that. So trade costs have gone up exponentially, $9 million worth. Site work, because of the location of the school, because of a lot of town requirements, yada, yada. There's a lot of additional site work that has to get done. A lot of this stuff was unrealized at concept design because, like I said, when you do concept, you're just basically putting a picture and you're not getting into the actual detailed design requirements. That comes through after you actually get into the next phase. So a lot of those site work that they ended up having to do or figured out they needed to do, they didn't realize that until after concept design. Additional abatement costs. Escalation is basically saying we're going to have even additional inflation beyond the point we are today. And then, just other things up to the current estimate. So the auditorium. In the original estimate, the ed spec had that 250 min seating. And for some reason, our previous owner's rep went to our third-party estimator with that number, as well as the 900 square foot stage, even though the Board of Ed approved the 1,300 square foot stage. So those costs were not put into the original budget, even though we were told it was. So that additional expansion of the auditorium and expansion of the stage is an additional $1 million. And that's what you all have to vote on today, is if you still want to keep that expanded. The stage was already approved back in April. You approved the 1,300 square foot stage. When you expand the stage, you also have to expand the auditorium because line of sight, you can't have like a stage that's bigger than the seating area. So we're asking that this board approve 500 seat capacity in the auditorium, which is equal to what the middle school has today. So the middle school has 500 seats today. We're saying let's keep that going with the new building. There's a soft cost increase as well. That soft cost is our equipment, computers, chairs, tables, desks, all that stuff, which we know increased in cost as well. And that brought us up to 77.6. Once we got that number, and then we started sharpening our pencils and said, okay, what can we do to bring this down? We found opportunity to reduce size, about 1.3 million worth. Abatement costs, we found out because we did a study at the school to see what kind of abatement we would need. So we think we can cut out another 0.6 million there. Building value management. Again, I'm not going to go into all of that in the next slide. We'll go over into that tomorrow, but that's another 2.4 million. And that brings us down to 73.3. And then there's future opportunities that will bring the cost down even further if they are realized, but we have to do some more research to figure that out. Again, this is just an estimate based on the economy today and predictions. As we get further into, I'm going to keep repeating this because I think people need to hear this. As we get further into design and find additional opportunities to reduce costs, the building committee is committed to find every single opportunity to reduce costs where we don't lose value. Okay, so I'm going to skip that because we're going to go into that tomorrow night. And we're going to go into that tomorrow night. So I don't want to give away all the secrets. So please come tomorrow night to the town council meeting. So you can listen in and ask questions at the regular meeting. Any questions?
I'm sorry, are we able to ask questions right now? Okay, does anyone have any questions for Rosanna? Catherine?
So I have two questions. The first one is you gave us a very, very high level. Do you have a more detailed look into it for people to look at, town council members and everything that will show exactly where those costs are coming from?
Yep, so Perkins Eastman put together a presentation. I think did I send you the Perkins Eastman one? So you have a copy
Yeah,
of
we
that?
forwarded it yesterday.
Yeah, that goes,
Oh,
that,
I'm sorry, I did not.
I'm not
have
sure
a-
you had a
that's
chance
okay.
to look at
I
it.
And
got
that
a dozen
Perkins
forwarded
Eastman,
emails yesterday.
yeah, they break everything down a little bit further. So you'll see actually the breakdown of those trade costs. You'll see the breakdown of the other costs, and as well as the opportunities. So they have this thing called value management, which basically says they look at, the easy things to cut out. Let's call it that. And then we voted last Wednesday on those items, and we're able to cut out a significant amount of cost out of the project immediately, and we continue to do that.
With those easy type costs, are you noticing they're adding in things that really aren't necessary for our school and everything? They're just,
Yeah.
which is kind of, seems frustrating. We're trying to build a school and you're
Right.
adding in all these
Yeah,
extemporaneous
so
costs that we really don't want to incur.
exactly. So this is kind of why we say that, as we get further into design and actually go in with like a looking glass deep into the design, we're going to find other opportunities where they may have assumed a higher cost material, or they may have assumed monitors in every hallway, and we're like, we don't need that. Examples of things that we can find further opportunity to reduce costs.
Okay.
So an example of something that they had, and I don't know why they had this, was a vegetated roof, which would have been a rooftop learning area, I guess. I'm like, why is that there? We didn't want that. We didn't ask for that. So easy.
That's for cities, not for
Yeah,
suburbs.
easy, cut it right out, right? So a lot of the stuff that they presented was like that low-hanging fruit, the easy things to just say, yep, we don't need it, we don't need it, we don't need it.
So that was actually not my second question. It was a follow-up to the first. But my second question is, and I believe Selena asked this of you the other day, but I know what you do for a living. I'm very familiar with your job. And I'm wondering if you are seeing this in your line of work and across the board, because there are a lot of people who don't work in that area and in construction and understanding what materials and trade costs are.
Yep.
Is this a common percentage increase?
So I am not in the construction field,
Right.
but I will say in the manufacturing world, there is definitely a cost increase. I can't go into details, but yes, every industry has been impacted. Any industry that uses natural gas, any industry uses regular gas, oil, particularly. Construction has been really hit with costs like electricity costs, like wiring, things like that, was up like 27% last year. So, I mean, that's just one example. You can go online, like it's ridiculous how some costs of materials have gone up so much since last year. And there are trends that some of those material costs are coming down, like they're starting to recover a little bit. For example, if you're building a new house, and building homes, by the way, is a lot different than commercial buildings, and the school is considered a commercial building because of the materials. But wood, for example, lumber came down significantly last year, like 27% cheaper than it was in 2021. But everything else, from concrete to gypsum to electrical costs, everything went up. So I think every industry has been impacted, unfortunately, because of it.
Wondering if it was the same percentage, about increase.
I don't know. We build different things where I work, so I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just to go along with that, has the building committee, I'm sure you haven't had a chance with everything else you're doing, but there must be other projects going on in the state. And I'm wondering if there are any other that are comparable to what we're doing
Yeah.
timeline-wise, and if they're running into the same
They
obstacles.
are. Yep. There's at least, I think, 5 or 6 other similar size, similar timeline projects as ours, and they all are facing the same thing, same percentage increases. So we're not unique. It's not something the building committee overlooked. It's not like a miss. This was just, unprecedented inflation rates from last year that no one could have predicted. We had predicted a doubling. Usually when you put escalation to a project, and escalation is basically assuming some level of inflation. Usually building projects will put in like 3%, 4%. And we doubled that. We're like, we're not going to take any chances. We're going to double it because we want to make sure that we have enough. I mean, who could predict 22%? I couldn't predict that. So And
Does-
all of our experts, no one was giving us that feedback either. It's not like they said, you really should increase this by 22%. No one gave us that direction or advice, when we put the concept cost plan together, so.
Thank you. Dipti, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. The 75 million, is that the final estimate? Did you say you were getting 2 more?
We're getting 2 more estimates, so there'll be another one, the next design phase, and then one final one in July. And the best estimate is really going to come when we get our bids. So what happens in probably the July timeframe is our construction manager is going to go out to bid for all of the trades, for materials and everything. They're going to put together a package. That's when you're going to have an idea what the actual costs are going to be. And once we know what the actual costs are going to be, that will really finalize what the estimate at completion is going to be.
Any other questions? Lori?
Hi, can you just clarify again where the miscommunication was with regard to the stage? So we had voted for the 1,300 and you said it got put in for 900. Can you just expand on exactly how that happened?
So in April, you voted to expand the stage to 1,300 square feet. The ed spec was never updated. So I vaguely remember a discussion here where the prior company had recommended we wait to update the ed spec because we may need to add more changes or whatever their reasoning was. That was fine, except when they relayed the ed spec to the cost estimator, they did not relay the draft changes of the ed spec to that cost estimator. So in our meetings, if we go back to listen to our meetings from that time, we had asked them, does the budget include the expanded auditorium and stage? And they said, yes, it does. Okay, great. So we were very confident that it did include it. All of our documentation said it included it. But when we went to reconcile, so a little backstory, the third-party estimator who did the most recent estimate also did the estimate back in April. It's the same exact person, in fact. So we went right to the source. We're like, well, what the heck happened? Why, where are the changes? And we went through line by line by line through everything. And then the stage came up and we said, why are we using only 900 square feet? Well, that's what was given to us at that time. So I don't have a good explanation as to why that miscommunication happened, but it was a major lesson learned, which is why I want to have the ed spec updated today to be clear as to what exactly we want in that building and not put it off for a later time to update the ed spec. I think every time we make a change, we should need to go and put it in there, approve it, release another copy until we submit our final copy to the state. And we are allowed to go back to the state one more time with ed spec changes and with a different budget. So you'll get one shot. So we'll do that later this year.
Matt?
So currently, the state will reimburse us approximately 40%. Is that correct?
39.4, 0.6? 0.64.
Is there some kind of opportunity? I vaguely remember hearing something. Is there some opportunity to increase that percentage back from the state?
There is a chance that we might be able to get full reimbursement rate, which would be that 39% plus another additional 10%. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on with the state. There was a lot of drama a couple years back. They changed heads over there, and they're really being very cautious about their documentation, about their process. They want to make sure they're crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and everything. There is a clause in one of their documents that basically says if you can prove that your new building is actually cheaper than a renovated building, then you should not be faulted that 10%. You should still get that additional 10% because overall the project's cheaper than the other two. It's a small clause and buried in a document that our owner's rep brilliantly found and has been working directly with the state to get clarification on that and to see what we would need to do to be able to basically take that opportunity and see it through. So there's a lot of hurdles that still have to happen. The state has to go and, determine if they want to keep that clause in there or not, determine if we're still eligible for that clause. They have to tell us what we would need to do to provide evidence of that. They may ask us, well, prove to us in more detail that your current building would be cheaper than, renovated. So we may have to go do some more design work. We don't know. So I would caution that even though the opportunity is out there, there are still a lot of hurdles that we'd have to go to actually realize it.
And I think Dr. Macri may have some more information that just came out.
So, Matt, I was with the Speaker of the House today actually trying to talk about this particular situation and other lack of funding that we're experiencing, and just knew there was 3 of us in the room who were experiencing this exact situation. So they do want to talk to us, the committee. This literally just happened today. And we may need to work on some documentation like Rosanna explained. However, they are listening. Everyone is in this predicament. No one ever expected a 20 to 25% inflation cost. So it's going to be a lot of work on our end, but obviously we're willing to do it. And I will find out more, but we did have this conversation today with the Speaker of the House, Matt Ritter. So hopefully it'll work in our favor. They're not closing the door on helping us and putting it all on the town because it would just be unfair. And it would end they know that it would most likely end the projects.
We do have a meeting set up with the state, I think next week. Thursday morning, yeah. So we'll have further discussions on it with them then. There's also an opportunity to submit a grant, or not a grant, I'm sorry, submit a waiver for the additional space for the auditorium, because it will exceed our, per the ed spec and per what the state will reimburse us for, it's 83,000 square feet-ish of interior square footage. So in order to expand the auditorium and the stage, it'll push it out, I think it was like 1,600 square feet. So we're going to go to waiver to get the reimbursement applied to that space as well. So that $1 million overage may actually come down if we can get that approved by the state. And I think we have a good clause because it's really an important part of our curriculum, the arts especially, and music. So I think we have justification for it. Actually, I know we do.
Any other questions? Does anyone have any questions on what we need to vote on later, specific to increasing the size of the auditorium? Because I'm not sure Rosanna will be here for that. So if you have any questions about that, Lori?
So we're just voting on whether we still want to go what we already voted on
Basically.
before.
So in April, you voted to expand the stage from 900 square feet to 1,300 square feet, but you did not vote to expand the seating capacity. The seating capacity was left at 250 seats minimum. So in order to expand that stage, you also have to expand the auditorium to like basically you have line of sight on the entire stage. And our recommendation by the building committee is that you keep the current seating capacity of 500 seats in the new middle school.
So you can't have the bigger stage without the more seats. Like it's one of the, you can't have.
Right, so it's like a nuance in the wording. So in the ed spec today, it says 250 minimum, but doesn't actually specify how many seats you want. We're saying, our suggestion is make it clear that you want 500 seats. Perkins Eastman already has a design concept out there that has the 500 seats. It looks really pretty, by the way. And it works with that stage size. So we would need this board to approve amending the ed spec to reflect 500 seats as opposed to 250 seat minimum.
But it might not be $1 million.
Right now it's at a cost of $1 million, right, Rosanna?
The expansion would be at a cost of $1 million without waiver approval. So if we get the waiver approval, it'd be less cost to the town.
So just to clarify, so what we voted on before, we kind of have to vote to move it up to 500 to support what we voted on before. Like you can't have one or the other.
You can keep it at 250, but then you'd have a lot of, it'd look weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Rosanna. And you'll be presenting this again tomorrow night if anybody is. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to presentations and reports of administration. Item A, the 2022-2023 budget update, reference A in your packets. Ms. Burke, would you like to come up?
Good evening. I've included in your packets the information related to the projection for January. As I say, each time I give a report, the numbers were current as of last week, and they're already changing. So this is just a quick picture of a point in time, and things are changing. The last time we did a report, we were significantly over budget. When I say that, I mean our forecasted and our projected numbers would put us over budget. We have not overspent the budget. I just wanted to clarify that. We've done a tremendous amount of work in the last 4 weeks to bring in everything that we could. We've evaluated all purchase orders. We've done a really good job to try to bring that down, and we have been successful. That process will continue every day, every week until the end of the year. There are no additional surprises here. This year we are experiencing significant homeless population transportation. We budgeted $10,000 and we are in excess of $120,000 right now on that particular line item. I did want to bring that to your attention. That could change if children do find a home. They have two choices. They can continue to go to school in their hometown where they were originally going to school, or they can enroll in a new school district. There's no way for us to predict when or if that will happen. The other thing that we've experienced is we had some problems over the weekend at Woodside Intermediate School with the boilers going down. So that's an unfortunate extra expense that, things like that happen. That is probably a $10,000 price tag to fix all those issues. But again, this is where we are right now, and working very hard to try to find any place that we can have savings and get this budget back to where we want it to be. And I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.
I just wanted, when I emailed all of you, I said CMS. It was a little sleep deprivation from all the issues we had this weekend. That 24/7, it's fun. It was actually I had told you it was CMS's boiler. We had 3 different incidents with pipes bursting and a few alarms going off. So we think it's about a $10,000 cost, and hopefully not more than that.
Just related to that email, I know that's not what she's talking about, but you had put in the email about the high school, the
greenhouse.
Yeah, I was just curious what the status is of that. Is it usable? Like, what was the damage?
So Melinda's not here, unfortunately. She has COVID, but Andrew is here. And do you know Andrew? Can you speak to it? We're using it. Okay.
It's okay.
So it's back. Yeah. We had vendors out all weekend, and we had to actually evacuate the building during the game, so there were a lot of issues. But it looks like Andrew is saying, yes, it's back up and running.
Okay, thank you.
With this weather, you don't know what to expect. You have old buildings. This is going to happen. So we thought we are heading in the right direction with cutting our costs. But
The good news is there hasn't been a lot of snow.
yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed.
So let's keep our fingers crossed that.
There was no way to predict. You can't predict, and especially in a district like ours, the homeless situation. We have never exceeded $10,000 to be at $125,000 in expenses. That's what we talked about today as well with our meeting with the Speaker of the House. We thought we might get some help. There's a few House bills out there right now. I don't know. I was thinking yes. We'll find out tomorrow. It's up in the air. So between homelessness and as we've talked about the transportation costs, just transporting our students with special needs and regular education, athletics, tripled, quadrupled. There's no way for us to know this. This has never happened before. It's unprecedented. But thank you to Ann Burke, who has done an exceptional job. We have watched every single penny, and to the administration, who has watched every penny that's gone out the door. since, sadly, we are looking at things of asking permission to buy tissues and things like that. That's where we're at. So we hopefully will make it out without having to go to the Board of Finance for any additional funds. But we are very tight in expenditures that we never thought we would see.
What type of help do you think is
Is your mic on, Alan?
What type of help do you think? I mean,
Well,
a token 10,000, or are you talking about picking up the tab? I mean, where are we?
I mean, there's a lot of different things. So we are not a district, and I think I've explained this to you and you all know. We are not a district of poverty. So we get overlooked quite often. We've applied for 4 grants. We don't have a grant writer. We're it. We did a great job on the last 2 grants that we've applied for, and then there was 2, I believe, with food services. We did not receive any of them. So I did reach out to our legislators and asked why are the same people constantly being selected. And it wasn't just urban, it was suburban as well that were being selected and were being overlooked, and our grants are really powerful. They're very good grants. I was told, we're sorry, better luck next time. Let us know if there's anything we could do. So I have reached out to ask for help in that way. Spoke with the Speaker of the House today. Spent a lot of time up in Hartford. I'm doing everything that I can advocate for more money, more financial support to Cromwell. We just do not qualify, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. I won't, it is a lot of work for the administration who's writing the grants, the waivers that we're talking about, 20 to 30 hours of work, only to be told no, thank you. But we will continue to do it. We just found out this week that we did not qualify for the social emotional grant, and that was going to be about 150, 120, 150. We didn't get it. We're doing the best we can. I'll take anything right now. I'll take $5,000 if they give it to us, but we just are not a district that's in need.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
I also have the next item on the agenda.
Oh, you
so-
do? Okay.
I do.
Adult school lunch price increase.
Yes. So we are going to increase the price of adult lunches to $4.50 per meal. That is, we do a calculation that comes to us from the state of Connecticut, and with the expenses the way they are, we are going to increase the price to $4.50. So that will become the new pricing shortly.
From what? What was it previously?
I don't have
Just
that
out of
number in front of me.
curiosity.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a significant increase.
Mhm.
I think maybe $4.25. It's just a little bump to try to help offset costs. We don't have the option to not do it. The school and nutrition programs, like, you have to evaluate it, and this is what you have to change it to based on the calculation that they give us.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right. Moving on to old business, discussion and possible action. The proposed education budget 2023-2024, reference B in your packets. We have here the list. And before I turn it over to Dr. Macri, I just wanted to add that I'm glad you're all here for sure. I want to thank you all for being here, but no one is here because we want to harm students. Most of us work in education. We're on the board because we care about students. We have students in the school district. So we hear you, and we, definitely are not looking to do anything like that. And I just have to look back to our district goals. And I do want to thank Dr. Macri, because I feel like since you've been here, you've recognized a lot of needs that we have and things we've been going without. So when I look to our goals, I see number 1 is increase academic performance. So we did some investment in curriculum, and I think we need to stay true to that. Safe, healthy, inclusive environments. We hired social workers. We didn't have social workers, unbelievably, in the past. So we have the ESS program. I do think that we have to reflect on the goals overall. And class size, no one wants that to increase. I'm not sure that will even come to fruition, but it's just something that we have to look at and make sure that we're aware of any, financial savings that could be had if there was an opportunity. So I just wanted to mention that we always do place students first, and I just wanted to give you that intro before we move on to the budget update.
you don't take this job because you don't have tough skin. So with that being said, I understand everyone's concerns. I really believe wholeheartedly that I do place students first, and I don't have to convince anyone. People have their own opinions. I don't believe that anyone in this room besides me lost any sleep because we were over $400,000 in the hole this last month. So if you can stand up and say you lost sleep this entire month, then stand up, because I'm pretty sure the only person who's going to stand up is me, and what I've had to say no to you for that have to do with our students. With that being said, when the board asks questions, and I don't like to answer, I tried to be as vague as I possibly could and gave you hypotheticals at the meeting last month. I have no idea how ECS I gave an example of first grade and third grade, or fourth grade, I think it was, because I just picked 2 schools, because I don't want anyone to get upset. We are a year out. We still have 7 months. I could get 20 students walk in the door. I can have 20 students leave. I don't know. What I do know from experience is that it happens. So I tried to be vague. You asked me specific questions, and you have the right to ask me those questions. So I tried to give you hypotheticals. I don't want our class sizes to go up at all. The amount of work that's gone into trying to figure out how we're going to survive has been incredibly hard. I would love to go to the Board of Finance, if you allow me to, with what I proposed at the beginning. And my number was a 9.93. That's what we need to run Cromwell Public Schools. Whether people feel that we don't, or we do, or we have, we're not top heavy at all. We actually need curriculum adjustments, very much so. There's a House bill out there that says it needs to be not only implemented, which it should be, but it needs to be posted online and fully written. Our teachers are overwhelmed. They can't do that work. I don't have staff to pull, I don't have subs. I could pull teachers out of the classrooms like we've done in the past and have them help. They're spending professional development, doing that curriculum writing, helping the team, but I can't pull them out of classrooms. We don't have the subs to do it. So whether or not people want to believe we need curriculum, we don't need curriculum, we need coaching, we don't need coaching, it actually is all in the best interest of supporting teachers and supporting what our students need. As you'll notice later, our Next Generation Accountability Index is poor. We have decreased, which pretty much all districts have, but not as much as we have. And especially not in our DIRG. We have huge curriculum gaps, which we noticed, and some of you who hired me, I think there were 2 of you, that we talked about. You asked me how I was going to fix them. I'm working on it, and we're doing a pretty good job. The STEAM school was approved. Hopefully that'll go through. We need to be innovative. We need to be innovative at the middle school. Our teachers are not teaching PBL, and nor they can't without the supports. They haven't had any professional development in the past. I value professional development. That's what I believe. And I value innovation for our schools. I believe that if we don't make progress, then we have low expectations for our students, for our staff, and we'll just stay where we are, stagnant, or continue to decrease like has been happening. That is not what I want. With that being said, I am more than happy to entertain any of your questions. I have the team here. We've been working relentlessly on this. This is really difficult to do. I do believe the first thing that I'm trying to do is place the needs of students first. Secondly, I'm trying my hardest to not harm anybody who's in a current position. So I'm trying to think of people's livelihoods. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't want people to lose positions. So I'm looking at attrition, changing, readjusting some of the positions, rewriting some of the job descriptions that we have. That is what we're trying to do. Those are my 2 major things. I'm not making up the inflation costs. It is what it is. In 2012, the United States annual inflation rates were about 1.7. They've dipped, gone up and down. In 2019, we were at 2.3, and everyone was really, really nervous. Remember that budget that I tried to get? We did not have social workers in Cromwell Public Schools. That is unheard of. We did not have social studies teachers at the middle school in grade 6. I was able to bring that in. These are all things that things have to go. There's nothing I can do when you have an inflation rate now that's at 7.1. I'm asking for a 6.94, which is lower than the annual inflation rate. I would be more than happy to fight, because I've done it and I'm used to doing it, for that full 9.93, which would cut no one. However, I do want you to know right now, with what I'm thinking, those teaching positions would not increase class size at all. I gave you hypotheticals so that no one would feel exactly what you are feeling today. And unfortunately, the trust is just not there, and people are afraid, and I understand that they're afraid. However, I have no intention of increasing class size at all whatsoever. I also don't have intention of running classes that only have 8 students in them. And that's what we're doing. We are running classes that have 8 to 10 students. I never, ever, I'm shocked, to be honest with you. And I said, I'm hurt, and it takes a lot to hurt me. But the message is wrong, and everything that I've been trying to do since I've been here is exactly what I was hired to do, and I have no regrets. I think Cromwell will be better off because of it. I move forward with my proposal because, honestly, I don't know where else to go. I have gone everywhere. And I know, I don't believe that the Board of Finance is going to approve this large increase. I believe there will be larger cuts. We don't get a lot of grant money, and we hit our grant cliff. Today, South Windsor put out their increase, 7.9%. East Lyme is going up to 9%. Southington, close to 8%. My DIRG, I have a whole entire list of DIRGs. I've been keeping up with all of it and doing my homework. This is all I've been doing, living and breathing. Everybody's asking for a lot of money, $8 million out of Hamden. I will go to bat and go to the Board of Finance with whatever you ask me to do, but I also try to be fiscally responsible, and I know what it takes to run a school district. It doesn't make everybody happy. I feel that we have been fortunate, which is why people want to work and live here. But these are the times, and Ann and I have, in the entire administration, we have looked at every number for this year and for next year. This is the best I could do without a crystal ball. And I do stand behind all the positions that we have. I believe that we are better off, and our students will be better off, and we need to increase our student achievement and their mental health and well-being. That doesn't mean that we don't look out for our staff, but I'm trying not to harm any human being as well. I want everyone to have a job. I don't want them to have to worry about their livelihood as well. So with that being said, open for discussion and give me recommendations. Tell me you want me to go to the Board of Finance with a 9.93. You won't have any, but I'll go there with, I'll give it my best gusto. I've been known to do that.
So we did also submit questions, which Dr.
Yes.
Macri answered, and they are in the packet that went out in reference B, just for anyone listening. All of the questions are listed. Kelly, go ahead.
Well, since you mentioned that, what would happen if we went for 9.93, knowing they're gonna cut it?
So this is the list that I gave you that I felt comfortable sharing with you. And it's the closer you get, you know, into the blue, I mean, it's heartbreaking. I'm not sure. We're asking for additional money from the Board of Finance for the building that we did not project that to happen. My thought is, if you look at your budget book, I've showed this to you, and you know, I've explained this many times. This isn't a one-time problem, and I'm so happy to see our teachers out because I think this needs to happen more often. We are, I'm proud that since 2009, I finally got a budget increase of 3.8%. We have been very low funded. If you look at the history, last year we got 3.81. The year before was 2.97. I was besides myself, 3.60. But if you go back in 09, the district received 5.08. That was the highest in over 10 years. 0.19 was the following year, negative 6.6, 2.48, 1.93, 2.17. Then you had a 3.1, a 3.5, a 1.7, a 2.0, a 1.3. If the town does not value education, these are the numbers you're going to get, and eventually it's going to catch up. So I'm not the bad guy. I just get to deliver the bad news. When I look at history of suburban, you don't see this. The history, you can't kick the can and kick the can and kick the can and think that it's going to just go away. It's not going to go away. Our curricular problems got worse. Our needs of our students got worse. We didn't have social workers, so the emotional stability of our students was worse. You can't continue to do that for a long time. We increased our paraprofessionals by many. I'm trying to look at different ways and be creative without taking work away from certain bargaining units. But at the same way, I'm trying to meet the mandates of the state, and I don't want people, it's my job to look at them, the big picture, right? It's my job to bring you the policies. It's my job to bring you the bills that are out there. They're serious. K through 3 reading. We're working on the waiver. We are killing ourselves. I don't know if they're going to approve it. We may end up having to buy a brand new reading program that I do not believe is culturally responsive, nor do our teachers need. I do not believe that wholeheartedly. But I may have no choice. And that could be anywhere between a $500,000 and a $1 million cost to this district. I'm doing my best to advocate. As all of you know, I speak, and I'm doing the best that I can, but I may not have a choice. There are other things that are at the legislation right now with math curriculum. It's mandated. There's nothing I can do about it. I try. I open my mouth. I had the Speaker of the House's ear this morning. I'm not afraid to call our legislators. I call, I email, I ask, I beg. There's nothing that we can do. It's almost 30 years in this occupation, and I've never seen it like this before. Practitioners are not being heard or listened to, and nobody wants to hear from the superintendents. So we can continue to bash and point fingers and everything else, but at the end of the day, if we work together, we might be actually be able to get something done. 9.93, no one will fight harder than me. You guys know that. You've seen me in action. I don't think, I don't know if the town can afford it. I believe that is a very big ask for any municipality, and I wouldn't want to be in their shoes. And if anybody wants to put these shoes on, because they're actually hurting my feet right now, you could wear these shoes too. It's difficult to be in any of these positions right now. That is up to you. If you want me to put some stuff in or take other things out, there are things that I, as your CEO, advise highly against. Well, it'll only set us back farther. We were out of compliance in so many areas, especially in HR, human resources, and curriculum. When I first got here, that it was, and then, you know, I get hit with COVID, a pandemic. So we kind of were at a standstill. I think with that being said, you have some decisions to make. I will do whatever, point me in the direction. I'm giving you my professional and most honest opinion of what I believe we might be able to achieve. That doesn't mean that we're going to get it, and it's not the number. If you ask me what is the number that you want, Enza, I would say to you, the number I want is 9.93. That's the number I want. That's, you let me know.
So in past presentations, I don't recall us, the superintendent yourself, having to specify so many things to get down to what we need. So I think it was, if I remember correctly, like a marching band, like wants instead of
Those were
actual needs.
What we would want. I am as transparent as you're ever going to get. I don't know what else to say except for you can lead me in the direction and I will do my job.
I think it shows effort, and I would hope that the Board of Finance would see this and take that into consideration when making their decisions. So what does everyone else think? Does anyone have any? Kelly?
Thank you to everyone who came out and made public comment, and thank you, Dr. McCurry, for your explanation on everything. This is more just from an educational purpose. I want to understand. I did the quick math, but I'm probably missing something. In terms of salaries, what % does administration make up of that bucket? The way I calculated it is about 16%, but I don't know if I'm using all of the right.
And
Ian.
we are a
Mhm.
very small group of people, and the district decided to go with a director of curriculum and instruction and HR. Usually in a district our size, especially with the needs that we have, there is there's always been an assistant superintendent. I'm the transportation director, I'm the grant writer, I'm all of that. And I'm not complaining because I will work. With the exchange for HR, which was voted on before I even got here, the board also, and you're new, but when the people were brought forward for the administrative positions, they were brought forward to the Board of Education. And actually, I stayed out of 4 interviews. I didn't even put myself in. As Town Council member Demetriadis mentioned about Middletown, we were FOI'd, and he said himself that there was nothing that looked. We hired the best. The people who are here from wherever they're from, they're working their tails off. Everyone's working hard, but it is a very low percentage.
I don't question that. I wanted to sort of get it into perspective of what other districts are, because it seems like we're small based on the things that you've said. So I just kind of want to understand what the percent is and what that is in line with other districts this size.
Yeah, we are probably right there, maybe a little bit on the lower side. We do have, one of our issues is, it's not an issue, it is the way Cromwell is made up. We have over 500 students in a building. It's too much for one administrator. And we tried the halftime thing here. We tried to do that. It didn't work. Curricularly, we were in a terrible place. There's no way that one person can do that, which would be Carrie, which is why we have supervisors that are helping our teachers. So those are the 2 other positions in the curriculum department. Besides that, we don't have anything else. Ian, I don't know if.
I just did some quick math. If you look in your book under the staffing section, the administrator salaries are about 1.7 million. All certified salaries are 17 million. So that's 10% of your all your certified staff. It's lower if you include your non-certified staff. It's a pretty small percentage.
And we did just negotiate, and I'm proud. I am proud to be a superintendent who has negotiated a contract for my teachers that is above what the average cost is. That was me at the table, and
that is reflected in the budget.
That is reflected. And I believe that our teachers needed it. I believe we were low when I first got here. It took us 2 sessions to get there. Our paraprofessionals are very much at the top of the scale as well. Our CAF workers were at poverty level. They weren't making any money. Custodial, we've negotiated solid contracts that I believe were fair for everyone. The increase of that teacher negotiation contract that we just did, it's about 4.25 or each year for the next 3 years, is very high, and it's going to cost us money, and I don't regret it.
That page that you're looking at is about 1.7. Yeah, so if you're looking at certified the administrators as a portion of certified salaries of which they represent, it's about 10%.
Did you have a follow-up to that, Kelly? Or
No,
you all
that's
set?
helpful.
Okay.
I'm trying to look
No,
at the
that-
different lines and figure it out, so thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. Any other questions, Dipti?
I have one question regarding the paraprofessional, the 3 positions. You know, just as a special ed teacher, I couldn't do my job without paraprofessionals. It would be
neither.
impossible. And how would you go about deciding which 3 positions
So
you would
it
eliminate, or
wouldn't-
would that be through attrition also?
It would be through attrition, but there's also, and again, I want to be careful because I'm talking about people, right? So we have some positions that do not, are not working directly with one-to-ones. Okay. So there are some things that we can do to change that. That doesn't mean that the paraprofessional will lose his or her job or their job. They'll just be doing something a little bit differently. We have students that we have had to outplace, as you all know. They don't necessarily need a one-to-one. What we've done is absorbed because we don't want to cut people, you know? So in order to not cut someone, you reassign them in a year, right? We're reassigning people. We will lose 3 to 4 to 5, maybe more. Michelle telling me last year, I mean, every year paraprofessionals do leave. Some are getting their degree in teaching and they go into teaching. There's a lot of reasons. So it wouldn't be actually any specific person, and it would be looking at what did I do in order to make sure someone didn't have their job lost this year. I'm looking at the people and I'm looking at our kids. I look at our kids first, but to be honest with you, if I don't need a paraprofessional because the student was outplaced, I'm not going to let you go. You're working for us. I'm going to reassign you for the rest of the year, and that's going to be at a cost. No one's losing their job, and I'm trying to do the exact same thing with teachers. We go below this number, I can't make any promises for any of it. Sure.
Hi, everyone. I just want to reiterate the importance of our paras and how we value every single para in this district. And since I started here, I just want to let everybody know there has never been a single student that went without what they need. I go to Dr. Macri if a student has a need. We've never not had a student supported by a para who needs it. We've added multiple paras to the union since I've started. So I can get that number for you because I'd love to do a little research just to get a hard number. But we value every single one of our paras every day and understand that they're at the forefront of the students and they work so hard. So I needed to say that, and it's always on my mind. Students come first. It's never a question. So I just, needed to get it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've even looked at looking at our parent. There has never been a time where Sari has come to me and said, we have to, it's always been yes. Even when we're $400,000 in the hole, it's always been yes. Ms. Demetriadis asked for more help with support in a classroom where it was needed. We hired an RBT to help at a higher rate. I know everyone is afraid. This comes out of fear. But we're doing the best that we can, and I think I don't cut paras, and I would never, if I remember my para, the para that worked in my room, Mrs. Peckham, and I'll never forget her, and till this day, I say, besides Lisa, I would have died without her. And I don't want to do that. But the sad truth is that you don't know where else to go.
There's not opportunity for public comment, but yeah, I'm sorry, I can't allow it. Just through the board and administration. Sure, Lori.
Yeah, so anybody who knows me knows how much I value and care about the paras, and I know how important they are. There's really only so much you can do with, I mean, when students have IEPs that call for paras, legally, you can't cut them. So, I mean, I just wanted to point that out so everybody knows that. We're not cutting people that can't be cut because you can't.
But I think Dr.
I
Mack
could
is
say
also
tomorrow, next year, I could get 6 kids with IEPs that say, and guess what?
We have
I'm
to
filling
do it.
them. It won't
You don't
be
have a
minus
choice.
3, it'll be plus
right.
3.
So I just, I mean, I hear fear here, and you know, just to touch on what Sari just said, if the students need it and it's in their IEP, they have to get it. So, and they have. So, I just wanted to say that.
Any other questions? Matt.
So right now, you're recommending an increase of 6.96%. Is that correct?
Yes, we are at
6.97, right?
Well, I was asked to just look at intramurals at the middle school again. So, in putting them back in, it would be 6.96 with the restructure, and I answered that question. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if we were to keep this 6.96 and that were to go through the Board of Finance as well, and that was granted, I understand. Ideally, you want 9.93 or higher. Right? I mean, you know, more is better. But if we were to keep the 6.96, does that? And I mean, I know there's no guarantees, but that I can't say ensures that we don't have to lose any people. I understand losing positions through attrition, and I didn't understand attrition until about 10 years ago, what that actually meant. I get it. Someone retires, we don't fill the position. Someone leaves for another opportunity, we don't fill the position. That's attrition. If we were to keep this 6.96%, what is your level of confidence that we don't have to lose one teacher, one para, one staff member?
With a 6.94, the only position that is people are currently in that I would be worried about is the family school liaison position and the 0.5 custodial staff, because right now we have an open position, but we may have to fill it because it's a maintainer position. It's not level 3 custodian. So that could possibly be a half of a person. But we'd have to reevaluate some things. You know, we're talking about a half of a person, a half of a FTE. The paraprofessionals, I guarantee it won't be anyone working now. The teaching positions, I feel with confidence through attrition, very high level of confidence. I would even go as far as 3, a high level of confidence through attrition, but I haven't gotten all the retirements yet. I need it in my hand. And I would consider, if it was an actual position, rethinking it. This is just based on my prediction. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. If I feel that I'm cutting someone because they're going to lose a job, I would look at this very differently. But right now, that's what I'm seeing and working with HR and projecting. If the town could help out and take that $45,000 of pension estimate increase so I don't have to pay that, you know, that would be really helpful too, because that was a new addition that was added in since we met last time that increased our need. But very high probability And then there will be attrition just because the market, I mean, people are leaving to two
I know, yeah,
teachers for
mid-year.
45 minutes drive, two left for administrative positions. One was driving 45 minutes. You can't blame them. I don't blame them at all. That may happen as well, and we try to hire low, but I can't make any promises right now with the shortage, especially in shortage areas. They're coming in high, and they deserve it. So I can't make any. I'm speculating as much as I possibly can, without making a promise that I can't keep.
In general, though, people who didn't want to leave on their own.
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure that
We had
I'm
through
clear
today.
on
We
that.
had. I mean, I'm trying not to be, but for this, Michelle has the numbers. We were at 10%, I believe, before I started. It decreased to 3% the following year. Then I believe it was 5. Then we hit COVID, where people didn't want to get their shots, and they wanted out of education. And I think we only hit 7% this year for people. And Michelle does exit interviews, and I take it very seriously because we all complain, right? Every day we all complain. We're all going to work somewhere else.
I
All the
excel
time.
at it.
All of us are. We are. We're annoyed. Everyone is annoyed. Education is hard right now. But we did have someone's husband get deployed. You know, that these are realities.
Yep.
One teacher who left to become an administrator is in the pipeline to be an administrator here. Excellent teacher. But she had to take the opportunity. She cried. I cried. We sobbed. It was terrible.
I guess what I'm getting at is a number of us sitting at this at this table in this group are educators, and I think if you asked any one of us, has the stress increased over the last several years? The answer is exponentially.
Absolutely.
And I know that the folks who came today are feeling that too. I think every educator is, and when I say educator, I include paraprofessionals. So please don't think I'm excluding you.
No, peer educators.
We're all feeling it. And to think that one of you could lose a job, you're already close to a breaking point. You don't need more. So the reason I asked that question is because I just want assurances from me that if we were to vote to keep the 6.96, that we're doing what we're doing. That part of the motivation behind that is we don't want to lose anybody.
That's my first thing is, what do our students need? And right there is...
Our students need people.
They need people. And right there, right next to it is, who can I not do harm to? I don't want to lay anyone off. I don't want anyone to lose their job. If you want to be here, I want you to be here. And so those are the two things that I've kept in mind the entire time. High probability, except for those two positions that I just talked about, the 0.5 FTE and the family school liaison, which was grant funded.
And when we talk about, class sizes came into play as well, and that also has to do with staffing numbers and so forth. I've been a special educator for 20 years. I know as well as any other educator that the more one-on-one time you can have with students, the better outcome those students will have, both academically and emotionally, because half of what we do as educators is building those relationships, and those relationships are really what move kids forward.
Don't worry, I don't forget what it
is.
feels like to be a teacher. I loved my job, and I loved being a principal, and I know the impact. There would not, where I was looking, and I gave the hypothetical when you guys were pushing me to, which I didn't want to, I just picked both schools. And I said, I used ECS as an example, and I used WIS as an example, so that I just gave you a hypothetical.
Well, and I remember from the meeting understanding it was a hypothetical, but it also was something we moved through kind of quickly, so I could see where there was confusion and concern. I can totally
The class
understand
size where we're looking won't change.
that. Okay. I mean, I would say ideally they're
Not even by
as
one
low as
student.
possible, but we also live in a world
Unless someone
where
moves in, or
we also live in a world where, as someone pointed out earlier, we are beholden to the voters. We are elected to do what is in the best interest of not just the students and their families, but all the citizens of this town. And that also means that we have to be financially responsible. So it's a tough thing to balance both of those.
See, that's where you and I disagree. I think that's the Board of Finance's job.
Yes, but it starts here. The discussion starts.
Of course I'm going to say that. I want the 9.93. But I also know that's not realistic. I try to live in reality. That's where I base myself. Anyone who knows me knows I live in reality, and I know no one's giving, not that they don't want to, there's other things that are going on. That's why I come to you with this number and say,
I'm going to say this because I've always wanted to say it. I yield to Catherine.
Exactly.
I've always wanted to say
it's
that
nice
phrase.
when
I
you
don't
can
know
point
why.
fingers at someone else.
No, I know it looks like you have a question.
I saw Dipty's hand
I
first, and then we'll
appreciate
do Dipty, then Catherine.
So going back to the paraprofessionals, I know you said that if there is a need, that you would hire them, and I think part of it is there are parents and there are staff concerns that kids will not be approved for kids to have paras on their IEPs.
Never,
Okay.
never.
I
On
just thought I
my
should point
watch,
that out for the
will a
people
student
out there.
not get the para support that they need? If anything, I've advocated for more experienced support with our behavioral students with behaviors through the ABA program, through RBTs. No, if a student needs a one-to-one and their IEP says they need a one-to-one, I'm not at those meetings. I have no idea what the team decides. I have zero idea. You show me an IEP, it says one-to-one, you better believe they're going to get a one-to-one.
Oh, Catherine first, and then Lori.
She's gonna follow up to that.
I think Dipty's point is that they wouldn't be allowed to put that in the IEP because we didn't. Is that what you're saying?
Kind of. I think that's a fair with some of the
We
staff
would
and
never
some
do
of the
that.
parents out there.
I would never do that, Sari. We would never tell anyone that if the team believes that at the PPT, which is the parent, and it's part of that student needs a one-to-one. Adult support is different. They say adult support, they get adult support. If it says a one-to-one, never, ever, not here, not in my last job, have I ever said, don't put that in an IEP. I've never said it, and I never will. Because you know what? I don't want to be that family. I don't want to be that parent worrying about that kid. And I don't want to be that teacher. You're trying to teach how many other kids? If a kid has the severe needs. Now, does that mean every single solitary kid who is? No, that doesn't mean everybody needs a one-to-one. But if it's in that IEP, I'm not even present at those meetings, guys. I'm so far removed from it. I'm not at those meetings. If it's in the IEP and it's written in the IEP, it's there.
And the teachers should not feel fear of advocating for their students. I think that's
I've never
a concern.
Listen, I'm a pretty reasonable person. People have advocated. Honestly, tonight is a shocker to me. I've never in my life experienced anything like this. You've worked with me for how many years? I'm a teacher's teacher.
Yep.
I've always been.
Nope, I just wanted to point out some of the fears they have. I know
I
your
don't know
stance
where
on
it comes
a lot of this
from, but
stuff.
you know who I am. Dipty, you've known me for many years. I don't know how else to make people feel comfortable except for I'm just going to keep being myself and doing what I'm doing, and we will take care of our kids and our staff the way we have been. But I can't do anything about this past. I can't do anything about what just happened to us, all of us, and it's not just, it's everyone.
Thank you.
Catherine.
Thank you. A couple of things. First, the big concern that we all had was that class size. Everyone went, what are you talking about? We don't want to increase class sizes. I have seen and experienced firsthand large swings in the number of students in a grade and what has needed to be done to accommodate larger grades. The class sizes were still larger than the ones ahead and the ones below, but did my student or any of the people I know in that, which was a lot, in those grades feel that they were not being educated despite the fact that they had on average 2 more students per classroom than the ones before and ahead and behind them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The teachers are phenomenal. I hate when teachers leave. I get really sad when they leave and emotional sometimes.
So are you advocating that I go with
I
a
am
7
not. I am
point?
understanding how attrition works
6-9.
because I've seen it in action in the past. I don't believe that everyone is scared that their jobs are in jeopardy. I think everyone in this room has felt that in the past. 110% appreciate all of the teachers and everyone coming out, and Lee Newman and Linda Demetriadis advocating for the teachers and the paras. The paras have hold such a critical role, but there are points in time where I do understand not a teacher isn't, that position isn't needed. And if someone leaves, that position doesn't necessarily need to be filled. We've seen it in other areas within the district. We've done it, and it's, yeah, we want to, yeah, it would be great to fill the school with a bunch of educators and support staff and everything else, but we don't have that luxury. We did agree to put in curriculum, and we've trusted you to increase our scores across the board. COVID hit, took a large hit to that, but we still have trusted that, and we've understood where your curriculum leaders are. They may not be hitting every single student right now, but the goal is that they will. Time is needed. I understand that. I understand if we go to the Board of Finance with a really large number, they find us to be fiscally irresponsible and do not want to support anything that we present to them going forward. We have experienced it in the past. It was not pretty. It was very contentious and very ugly. So putting the burden on them of how we move forward in this large increase in inflation and how we deal with it as a school district, I feel that this 6.94 or 96, whether you put the intramurals back in for CMS, is a fiscally responsible budget that will not hurt our students going forward and will allow our teachers and paras and everyone in the district to maintain their positions. I've worked in fields where, yeah, my job has been in jeopardy. They don't care about me. I'm a position. I've also had my husband go in for a job, and he's been working without pay because he has no choice. We've all been in these positions. They're very, very difficult and very, very emotional, but we have the best interest of everyone in this district at heart. We are not here to harm anyone. And I just want to make that very, very, very clear. We have asked you a lot of difficult questions, whether we wrote them in or we asked them at the last budget meeting about this budget, because we want to know, we want to understand. We've had difficult discussions about this. This is not where we want to be. I think this is the first budget I've ever looked at where nothing has been added in. So it is not easy and it is not fun, but we also understand where we are in this current budget season. It is tough. So it is. I just want everyone in this room to understand where we're coming from, that it is not our goal to take away from everyone, but we can't go in with 10% and expect them to approve it, because they're going to tell us that we're completely irresponsible and cut us down to 4, potentially. So I've seen it before. It's not pretty. Not really a question, just a statement about where we stand.
So like I said, I think showing the work that you've done already will go a long way with the Board of Finance. I am worried about going in at 6.96, assuming they're going to find, a different number. But I think it's where we are, and I think it's the best we can do. And to have it go higher, sorry, go ahead.
I want you all to know, if we have to cut below this, I will come back to you with my recommendations. That is still your responsibility. I'll come back with recommendations. It will destroy the district. I don't have a better word. That's the word. I'm going to use it. I'm going to say what I feel. We're going to go backwards, and that is not what we need right now. But if it is below that, there are going to be some. I've looked. It's not pretty. I have the list. I don't sleep at night.
Don't show it yet.
I'm not showing it. I believe me. It makes me want to. It makes me sick. But it's ready to go, and it will not be pretty. We will not move forward as a district. It will be sad for kids.
So thoughts on the budget as proposed? Sure, Lori.
So the intramurals are you, as it is right now, are you putting it back in? Or are you taking it out? I'm just confused on.
So we took out the entire, and we went back and asked a lot of questions of Ms. Cochiola, Mr. Penny, looked at participation rates, some of the things that are not currently running. So for example, right now, intramurals for
Yeah, I saw
basketball,
that.
soccer, baseball, those will be the ones that will be cut. But baseball, softball, and soccer have not been running for the last 3 years anyway. There hasn't been enough. I don't even know if we can get anybody to do it. So basketball, soccer, baseball, and softball will be interscholastic. There is that opportunity. I'm working with Kelly Maher and looking at how, if perhaps we could do some restructuring with basketball. But volleyball and skiing, we have a lot of kids who participate. And it's in order to run those programs, it's another about $8,000. I also, if you turn the page, I told you we could run safely, because I have to make sure the students are safe. With 2 adults, volleyball, and then we have boys and girls, and of course we're not going to cut one and leave another. We have Title IX in because it's the right thing to do. Skiing is co-ed. We believe we can do it with 3 adults. We've had to say no in the past when more than 50 kids have participated. It's not good to have more than 50 kids out with, it isn't anyway. We believe we could run it at that price. So the savings would be about $12,600, and we would still offer those opportunities to kids who really love volleyball and skiing, and that's where we see a lot of participation. And then, we have programs in the community too that they can join. But that's where we got. You're welcome.
Any other thoughts or questions? Thoughts on the 6.96? Thoughts on going higher? Does anyone have any concerns with keeping it at 6.96? Okay.
I think this is as lean as it's going to get on our end. Honestly, there's no increases in here other than the intramurals, which have an inherent value, and even that's not an increase from what from where it was before.
Yeah, it's peanuts.
And we can't, raise it going in with the worry that we're going to be cut, because that wouldn't be the honest thing to do. So I'm comfortable with where it is as well.
And right now, I've never started the year off frozen. And a lot of districts do. They start the year off and everything has to be approved. I've not had to do that. This year we froze sooner. With all the unknowns, with transportation, special education, facilities, we might have to do that so that we don't get to where we are right now currently. And that could possibly help too with that bigger picture.
Okay. If we're comfortable, we can move forward. If anyone would like to make a motion on the 6.96. Motion made by Kelly. Is there a second? By Alan. All in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries, and the proposed education budget for 2023-2024 is approved by the Board of Education and will move forward to the Board of Finance. And let's all just remember to attend those meetings as well, because those will be just as important. Okay, thank you. And thank you to everyone for all the time. I know everyone spent a lot of time looking over the binders and asking a lot of questions. We will now move on to new business. Sure. Okay, we're just going to call a 5-minute break in between. So we'll be back at 8 o'clock. Thank you.